Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to this special roundtable discussion in honor of Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I'm Anna Mia, and today we'll be speaking with some talented creatives in the comic and pop culture industry about how their cultures influence and affect not only their work, but also their lives. So joining me today, we have three special guests who all have tell us a little bit about themselves in just a moment. But first off, we have Patrick Michael Strange.
Hello, hello. Good to see everybody.
And we have Moana at McAdams. Oh my gosh, why am I doing this today?
It is all good. Aloha, everybody. Thank you for having us.
It would be like the name that everybody knows too, and I'm just like, I blubbered it. Okay, and then Ming Chen.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
Welcome, everyone. Let's start off with having our guests tell us a little bit about what they do in the comic industry. Let's start off with you, Patrick.
Awesome. Well, I used to write and publish comic books, but I'm now talking about them a lot with Nerds Rule the World, NRW, as well as with the Nerds of Color. And I actually am returning to comic books. I'll make that announcement here as well. With the Lumpia with a Vengeance film spin-off comic, the legendary Lumpia Squad, which should be dropping hopefully at San Diego Comic-Con. So I am making a return to writing comic books with that team.
Exciting. Super exciting news.
Thanks.
All right. And next up, Moana.
Yeah, my name's Moana. I am I guess I would say I'm an editor and a publisher of independent comics for Burning Spear Comics and the Wild Card Chronicles. I am also a children's book author for the Adventures of Nakoa and Nohea series. And then I also run the Moana Nui podcast, which helps to uplift BIPOC voices in the creative space in comics and in other mediums as well.
Next, we have Ming Chen.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Ming Chen. You might know me from a little TV show called Comic Book Men, which aired on AMC after The Walking Dead for 7 seasons. I have the easiest job, though. I have no talent. I don't write. I don't draw. I'm known more as an appreciator of the medium and as a lifelong geek. But that could change. I've got ideas in my head that I just need to pull out. And I think maybe you three will probably inspire me today. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm really excited to talk about everyone's experiences. And let's just start off with wishing everyone a happy AAPI month.
Yes.
Let's
go. It's so nice. It's so nice that we have a month to celebrate all of our cultures, because there are so many within, the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. So let's go ahead and start off with everyone's kind of cultural background. So let's start off, Ming. Tell us a little bit about how you identify within the Asian American and Pacific Islander community.
Yeah, I'm full-blooded Chinese. My parents grew up in mainland China. Actually, they're born in mainland China, grew up in Taiwan, moved to the U.S. in the '60s to go to college, where thankfully they met each other, got married, and had me. And I feel lucky. I kind of have both. I live in both worlds, I guess. Although I'm full-blooded Chinese, and my parents immigrated here, I was born in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, which I always like to seeing the looks on people's faces, like, oh man, where are you from? Taiwan, Beijing. I'm like, no, Cleveland, Ohio, and they're like, oh, okay, I guess that's cool too. So yeah, that's my full background. Born and raised. I guess they use the term ABC. They're more American-born Chinese, but I do feel very lucky that I've been exposed to both Eastern and Western cultures, especially when it comes to pop culture.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. All right. And what about you, Moana?
So for me, I identify as Native Hawaiian and Filipino. Woohoo, Kuya P. Lumpia for life. And I guess I grew up in Hawaii, which is a kind of a melting pot due to our plantation history. And so I grew up around a lot of different cultures. My friends growing up come from all different cultures and ethnicities. And it's really kind of shaped, I guess, the way I navigate the world, because it's kind of like the appreciation for different perspectives and, seeing things in different ways. has helped me to, kind of navigate in spaces. When I moved out to the East Coast, it was a little bit of a culture shock for me because it's a little bit more polar here. I mean, there's still diversity for sure, but there's really not a big Pacific Islander presence, and that was something that was a little surprising for me. But it's been great though. It helps me to navigate and make friends in all kinds of different places.
Very nice, very nice. And what about you, Patrick?
All right. For me, this has been always a wild question for me. I can really relate with Moana and her upbringing. I am probably the most Filipino guy you will ever meet. I'm Filipino AF, but I'm a mixed kid. I think I've really identified with a mixed kid more so with everything until I really found my Filipino-ness in my people and my culture. I'm Asian AF, but I grew up around all different types of cultures, born in San Diego, California, but being a military kid, I grew up around the world. So I kind of found my people in various areas of various nationalities. But I've always really came home to center to me was my Filipino-ness. So Filipino AF. But a very interesting question, and one that I actually start up with my Filipino X podcast called Show Pal Show, where I highlight us within the industry of various industries. And that's how I kind of start off my question with this question, because it's a very interesting question of really where you're from when we all should be one people, but we also highlight our diversity, which is so important.
Uh-oh.
We can't hear you, Mia.
There we go. That'll work.
I'm having audio problems, so I'm doing all sorts of weird things to try and get this to work. So tell us a little bit, Patrick, like you were talking about that, like how has your heritage shaped, who you are today?
Another great question. It's everything to me. I'm gonna go back to the mixed kid thing, because I had a Filipino mother, but a English Irish father. But growing up all around the world, I didn't really have a tribe. I was too Asian for too Asian for the white kids, too white for the Asian kids. And so it was really finding like your people. And to me, that's where comics really came into the picture, to be honest, because I found the X-Men and who just had that one thing that was different that they really didn't fit in. And finding that comics tribe helped me find my people. And then to find my Filipino people within that. And just, even though there's those labels that society puts on us, that's kind of like where I think the comics and the race thing really came into play for me personally. And it's been very important. It's finding your tribe. And then within the past 3 years, starting up Show Pal Show and highlighting those of us of Philippine X descent has really been amazing and actually been a boost to my career. It's always been something I wanted to show support, and I've written about my people, but now really making that a focus has created a lot of opportunities. So Lumpia with a Vengeance comic book, another VR game that I have in the works with Meta Facebook, that I just spilled the beans a little bit there. I'm putting in some work right now.
Nice. And I understand that whole thing about, being half, because I'm half Korean and half Austrian. So for me, it's that, I was, again, too like white to be fitting in with like the Korean kids in school. And then I wasn't like white enough to be with the white. So I was like literally the only person in my family that was like not one or the other. So yeah, and having comic book characters that I could relate to really like made that kind of help. So yeah, I definitely understand that. What about you, Moana?
So I would say, just like Pat said, that like for me, heritage is everything. Like I take a lot of pride in my culture. And I will say that like a lot of it I didn't really appreciate until I left Hawaii. It's just one of those things, right? Like out of sight, out of mind, or the absence makes the heart grow fonder type of thing. But, just being able to reflect and have the experiences I've had out here on the East Coast just really makes me appreciate like just the uniqueness of the people of Hawaii and just the way we kind of approach life in general. It still has a very community-based spirit. I feel like in a lot of parts, at least on where I'm at, that I see, you do have communities, but it's more in like pockets. But in Hawaii, it's just really like people coming together. So that's definitely shaped me. And as I've researched and explored, our history, pre-colonizer, all the good stuff. I've seen the strength and resiliency of our people. The things that we have survived and kind of overcome with introduction to Western contact, which has brought some good things, and of course there's not so great things. But I feel like that's all something that kind of helps you be a more resilient person and kind of see different perspectives of the experiences of others, and finding like parallel experiences, very much like you all found it in the comics community. Exploring my own culture and being able to travel the world too has helped me to like see, how there are a lot of shared experiences out there. And at the end of the day, like we're all human beings trying to, be respected, be valued, and to find our place, in our world, in this planet that we live on.
Very true. And yeah, that whole like missing it when you're gone, I totally, we don't know what it is until like we don't have it anymore, right? What about you, Ming? How has your heritage shaped who you are today?
I'm very appreciative that I get to live in multiple cultures, both Eastern and Western. Although I admit, I think growing up, just having been born in the U.S. and raised in the U.S., I definitely didn't appreciate it when I was a kid. And I mean, I think I had moments where I even tried to reject it, just because I wanted to fit in more. But I think later on in life, I was like, wait, we've got like really good food. We've got a really cool culture. We have, really cool, it definitely opened up the world to me. I think I kind of, it hit me in high school and definitely in college as I was exposed to more diversity. I grew up, in kind of a medium-sized town in Michigan. So I think it was maybe me and one other Asian kid in elementary school. And I didn't realize early on how awesome it was to be able to be exposed to all these cultures and all this cool stuff that both worlds had to offer. And I did grow up reading comic books, but then not a lot of Asian characters. I think it wasn't until I got to college, like, oh wow, Psylocke is Asian, she, and then later on, I remember reading the first issue of Walking Dead. I was like, oh, whoa, there's an Asian kid in here. Like there's a character Glenn, and he's cool, and he does all the stuff that nobody else wants to do. Like it was something I could really relate to. So, now I try to I try to spread that culture, that openness to all my friends, people I meet, and the things that I do. I was like, hey, you should check this out. I think it helped me become for lack of a better term, a better geek, a better nerd. So I think the best kind of nerd is someone who finds something that's really cool and then wants to share it with everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I think I kind of felt that culturally as well. I found something cool that maybe a lot of people hadn't heard of. I was like, oh, you should really check this out. This is really awesome. So, culture, sci-fi, comics, cool TV shows and movies. I think that's what I learned. And I was like, let's spread this love to everybody else.
I think that's like a general sentiment that a lot of us have when we're Asian and growing up in, the United States, is that need to like blend in or kind of fit in with the other kids. And it's not that until we're older that we start appreciating kind of who we are and our background, and we're more willing to be different, I guess. I mean, is that something that you guys experience as well, Patrick and Moana?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. It's sad. It's sad that we kind of assimilate. I hate to use that word, but it's very true. Because we're so beautiful, we're so amazing, we've done so much, and so I know the next question coming up, we'll talk a little bit about it more there, but completely. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I mean, I kind of picked up on what Ming said in terms of like rejecting your culture to fit in. I've seen that a lot, and it always hurts my heart because culture is so important to your identity. But I think that's one of those things where like I'm not sure that we really appreciate that how much entertainment, whether it's pop culture, comics, movies, all of those things, influence the way that we view ourselves, in the space, right? So if you don't see a lot of people who look like you, and I know that probably sounds like very generic and say all the time, but from a representation perspective, like it's really important because if you're not seen in the story or in the mainstream, then subconsciously you wonder if you have value, out here, and you see the same people getting the same shine. And it's like, what about us? And I guess for me, the whole reason why I started creating things is because I didn't want to just be a complainer about a problem. I want to shine light on it, but I also want to take positive action to try and change it.
Let's go, Moana.
No.
Nia. And it's all good. I know what you're going through.
These audio issues are just killing me.
All good.
We still love you.
What characters did you guys have? Because for me, like I grew up and there weren't really a lot of characters. Like we said, did anyone have one that growing up that they were kind of like influenced them?
I think for me, I mean, it was Storm, just because like I really love a strong female character, because I was raised by a strong woman. Both my grandmothers were very strong influences in my life, so I tend to kind of gravitate to stories that feature strong women, and kind of explore their experiences in more depth, not just as a sidekick character or a love interest or something like that. Like, for example, Moana. It was like the first Disney, well, maybe not the first, but one of the Disney movies where it wasn't a love story. It was a coming of age story. A young lady who was, kind of coming into her own and learning to stand on her own and face some of the difficulties, that she's exploring out there. She's trying to reconnect back to her culture. She's not really sure how to get there. Her grandmother's encouraging her to, to explore it, to find the strength, that comes from that. And so stories like that are always, touch the heart for me. And I like to, at least in my work, that's what I want to continue to bring to the next generation.
Anyone else have any characters that inspired them as a kid?
I did. I mean, the comic books were pretty thin. There weren't a lot of Asian characters out there. I think later I mentioned, Psylocke was one I gravitated toward. She's Asian, is powerful, and beautiful too. I mean, that no doubt about that. I think the one influence I had though as a kid was 1984. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom came out, and Ki Kwan, who plays Short Round, was huge for me as a kid. He's about my same age, and I was like, whoa, there's an Asian kid holding his own with Harrison Ford. And then later the Goonies came out, and I was like, oh, he's holding his own with Sean Astin and Corey Feldman and Josh Brolin. Yes. And I was like, wow, I thought that was really cool. Yeah, when that came out, I was like, and what, because I'd never seen anyone that looked like me, kicking thuggy butt and going after artifacts and going on adventures for One-Eyed Willie's Gold. So while he wasn't a comic book character, he was definitely a character in major pop culture. And I guess I gotta give it up for Steven Spielberg, who was probably a major influence in casting him. And Slick Shoes, and he was one. He was definitely a huge influence when I was growing up, and and that's why I love these Comic-Con so much. We were at a Comic-Con not too long ago, both of us, and I got to meet him and tell him all of that, and it was pretty cool.
I love that.
Mhm.
I love that. So for me, as we all have echoed, that there wasn't a lot of characters.
Mhm.
So as a fan of comic books, as a fan of this medium, I looked at the creators that were giving us these comics that I loved. And when I found out that Whilce Portacio was the illustrator on The Punisher at the time, and then come to find out that some of my favorite DC Comics creators that worked on Conan, Warlock, like Tony De Zuniga, Alfred Alcala, just all these great creators were from the Philippines. And there's like this whole boon of shout out to the recently passed Neil Adams, who paved the way for a lot of Filipino creators to come to the States and work on American comics. I was like, wow, we're doing comics. And so I bought up everything that was created by us or drawn by us, and then just hoped one day that I would be able to write and create comics that actually was that us now on the printed page, instead of these Filipino creators creating these white comics. It was us now being represented. So that's what gave me the hunger that eventually later on, when I got into comics, a purpose. But I was just celebrating the fact that we were killing it and dominating, and still do. And there's a lot of Asian Americans that are now killing it, and that I love. Shout out to Jim Lee, Jean Ling Yang. I have a long laundry list of creators I love. But the Filipinos in the game, shout out to my Filipinos, because that's, it's me, that are just killing it. And that's what I just fell in love with even more, that we were, working on these titles.
And it's great that, kids that are growing up, or, that are our age, we're seeing kids now where things that we love, like the whole geekdom, has become normalized. They're not getting made fun of it for it anymore, and like comics are readily available, and we have Marvel movies, everything. So what are some of the big changes that you have seen within comics for the Asian American Pacific Islander community that have really helped us grow in probably the last 15, 20 years? Let's go ahead and start with Ming.
I think there are definitely more creators, and more creators in the spotlight for sure. That actually goes way back, but they don't really mention. But Jim Lee's obviously a huge name. Guys like Jay Lee, Gene Ha. But I mean, even back to if you go back to the Infinity Gauntlet saga, the art was started by George Perez, but then he kind of got overwhelmed. It was taken over by an artist named Ron Lim, who was pretty big. I don't know if a lot of people realize that though. And I love seeing more Asian creators at in Artist Alley at cons, being featured guests. I think there he is, go Ron Lim. I think a lot of them have been working on major projects, getting hired by major publishers, and just getting their work more out in the spotlight, which I love seeing for sure.
What about you, Moana?
So I'm not the super comic expert, but what I do know is that I have seen some progress in terms of the stories that are being put out and the creators who are doing them. But I think we can still do a whole lot more. I think there are Asian and Pacific Islander creators in the community that are working, but I would like to see more stories that are told from the Asian Pacific Islander perspective, instead of them just working on it, right? What a difference it would make if they also had the voice to really shape the storyline, and kind of explore our cultures on a bigger scale. Raya the Last Dragon, was a really cool one for Filipino culture. But I would like to see, more of that even in comics. It's kind of why, it shapes a little bit of what I do. I'm trying to bring some Pacific Islander culture and perspectives and putting fresh spins on it, and really elevating and just really embracing the culture and realizing too that a lot of what we find interesting and fun in pop culture is based off of a lot of our own cultures. It just has a different face on it. So I would like to see more authentic storytelling, and I love to be a part of the independent community because we get that, and we get these new fresh looks at things, fresh characters, fresh storylines, all of that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's really been lacking is that confidence in putting out like very cultural projects. And I wish they would put as much focus on it as they do the like mainstream, Frozen. Like if we could get like the Frozen level of like publishing and marketing for something that's Asian American, that would be amazing. What about you, Patrick? What have you seen that's changed and needs to change?
Well, I'm echoing everyone, and I completely agree. And so, to your point in regards to like Frozen, having like a Frozen level AAPI project is really just again creating it. There's a lot of us out there, so we're there. But it's having those, having us also on the choosing side of things, the publishing side of the house, which we also have our API publishers, but they don't have as much pull because again they're so very indie. So it's them also being behind the scenes at Marvel and DC, which we do have, and then to make those decisions. So you need to have the people creating it, but you also need the decision makers, the people with the money, really, to fund that. And then again, I think the biggest thing I want a lot of people to take away from our conversation today is to support us, because there are people that are trying to do it, but they don't get the Marvel or the DC push. So you need to fund us indie cats to then hopefully then have a bigger rollout and a bigger representation. And I think really that's at the core of this. I could go really long on this type of a question
Me too.
because I've been in this game for such a very long time. But yeah, it's really supporting us. And then for those that care about us, our allies to work with us, because we can't do it alone. We have to work together as a community and help each other.
Absolutely.
No, that's so important. And so we have Comic Kevs coming in saying, great conversation going on. Love this. Thank you. So in going off of that topic, what are things that other, community members can do both internally and externally, and then also like allies, what can they do to help support the AAPI community? What kind of recommendations can you give out to people?
Buy our comics,
Yeah,
retweet our posts, like, share, subscribe. That's the simplest thing. It doesn't cost you anything to do that. Very simple. Like, share, retweet, subscribe in this society now. Yeah.
And I would also say like coach and mentor, like, if or connect people to other resources who can be of benefit to them. It doesn't always have to be money. I mean, economics really drives everything, but there's other ways that you can provide value, like sharing your expertise, sharing your network and your connections. Like, you don't know what's going to come out of it, but it doesn't hurt you to like, hey, you should meet so-and-so because she's doing this and I think it's great and I think it might align with what you're doing. And like, for those who are out there creating, like Pat, myself, and Ming too, there's so many successful indie creators out here, but we need help in terms of like spreading the word. And unfortunately, because of meta algorithms and all the things that like drive monetary things online, a lot of the indies have to rely on grassroots, word of mouth, all those kinds of things too. So I usually encourage people that like your money has a lot of power. And I would also just remind people that like we are as the consumers, we drive where things go. And so if you want to see it, kind of put your money where your mouth is what I say. And if you want to see it, like, support us, come on, we're right here. It's not like we're not there. We are.
Yes.
We just get drowned in the, the media frenzies is all.
Yeah, I think you mentioned a very important word. Just one simple word, just support. If you see, support the crowdfunding. If you see some independent Asian artists or creators at a Comic-Con, go buy their stuff, take a photo with them, post, promote them on social media, promote their projects, get to know them. It's very, very simple. Yeah, me myself, I just try to get out there. And I try to say no to. I try not to say no to anything. So, this included, previous world is like, hey, we're doing an AAPI roundtable. I'm in for sure. But also, if you follow me at all, you'll see I try to be at a Comic-Con like every weekend, and part of that is just to try to get out there and represent. So, I mean, I am out there. I'm having fun. I genuinely love being at conventions. But I'll give you a real quick example. I was doing a panel at a Comic Con, and afterwards, a person of Asian descent came up to me. He was like, "Listen, I was walking by. I don't even know who you are, but I saw you were Asian up there, and I was like, I'll stop in." And I was like, "Hey, I thought you were pretty funny." I'm like, "Okay, I guess hopefully, you follow some of my stuff, and I'll follow suit." But I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks, Ming, for doing that, because these comics, man, these Comic Cons, they're a grind, and going to one every week, that's warrior status.
And I say mad love to you, to Comic Book Men and your work on there, Ming.
Yes.
I loved it as a show, but what gravitated me initially when I first saw it just coming out was that, hey, we had an Asian cat on there. So I love you, man. So thank you.
Yeah, I gotta give credit to Kevin, who threw me on the show, and the AMC who put the show on, and yeah, when we got that, I was like, they don't put guys like me on TV, and they did, and it looks like it worked out, so I think I'm glad that I think that worked out for everybody, but I'm glad I was able to represent and be true to myself as well as I got to be as nerdy as I usually am. So, but if that helped anybody else, maybe identify with me, being in a pop culture format, then I think that's pretty cool.
Yes, thank you.
I'm very sad that you won't be an awesome con, though. I'm very sad.
Yeah, me too, my friend. Me too.
All right, so we have some questions from the audience. So first one is, what's the Chinese American representation like? The only current one I can think of is Jean Wen Yang. So let's go ahead and Ming, do you?
I mean, sadly, yeah, there's not a whole ton. I mean, the one that always comes to mind, and thankfully they made a really cool movie about it with Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu. And the comics did come out in a time when it was the kung fu craze, but they did portray him as a badass. There were some racial undertones that they wouldn't use now if they did the comic, but it was nice to see them. It was nice to see that out, but it was nice to see them translate that into a pretty cool movie in 2021. Although, if you read the comic books, he was kind of more portrayed as an Asian James Bond character that didn't need weapons, and he was just really like the best at kung fu and solve things that way. And I kind of wish they would have done that in the movies, and maybe we'll see that in the future. But yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of work to be done as far as the in the comic book world. Yeah, I mean, you can't readily really pull out some Chinese American characters currently. Yeah, it's there needs to be there definitely needs there could be some work done on that. So it's getting better though. It's getting better. But yeah, I don't know. Can any of you pull out any Chinese American superheroes offhand? It's pretty tough. They did a Justice League China, a few years back, which was kind of cool. Which it was which was it was pretty cool. And
I've got names in my head, but they're like Japanese and Korean and Filipino.
Yeah. But yeah, not a ton of Chinese American heroes out there. So,
I will say I'm super excited for, in regards to Jin Lun Yang, his American-born Chinese, which is phenomenal. If you haven't read that, for those that haven't, it's being adapted into an upcoming a television series that's going to be super dope. So if you haven't heard about that, American-born Chinese, the television series, check that out, and then read the comic book, the graphic novel in advance to check that. Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
The next question that we had is, are there any current Facebook, Instagram, social media groups that you guys can recommend that connect AAPI creators to fans or other creators? Know of any of them that are coming to San Diego this summer? So anyone have any suggestions?
Usually I would say yes to that second question, but unfortunately I'm not going to be at SDCC this year. Groups, I don't know. I don't know that it's like creator specific, and to me, like that's kind of how I know that there's still more work to do. You know, like because if we had groups that we're bringing these things together, then we'd be making a lot more process. But I still feel like it's a little bit in pockets, and I don't know. I'm always looking for ways to kind of connect the creators out there, who are doing the work. Because I know as a creator, it can be lonely, and in terms of like when you're creating and you're in your head, and there's a lot of like imposter syndrome and self-doubt that you go through as you're creating too, especially if you're really trying to put out stuff that goes against mainstream, and is trying to bring something fresh to fans. And then also too, like whenever it is something new and fans are not familiar with it, there is the speed is slower for adoption because not everybody's willing to try something new. But to those who do, thank you all so much, because that's how we still live here, and that's how we are surviving to fight another day and really try to continue to raise the voices of AAPI creators.
For me, in regards to the Filipino community, there's a ton on Facebook. Philippine X filmmakers, which is a lot of, and I'm more in the film route as well. If y'all didn't know, I'm an actor filmmaker. So I'm part of that. I'm also part of the Philippine X Actors Barkada. We get together every week to run scenes to keep our acting muscle going. And also, I would say the Asian Hustle group on Facebook has been phenomenal for all Asians, period, if you're not a part of that. And you'll see comics people, you'll see film people, you'll see regular business people on there, and they're so supportive, and that's been a beautiful thing. There's CAPE, if people aren't familiar with CAPE, CAPE, that do a lot of work, and the Gold Lead. They're more so like community organizations, but they also have groups within Facebook as well that you can join and be a part of. I'm trying to think comic specific groups that I'm a part of, but I can't think of them at this time because I'm really more so on Asian Hustle and the Philippine X Actors Barkada and filmmakers.
Show.
Yeah.
New release Wednesday.
I love you, Moana.
Yeah. I'll second the Asian Hustle Facebook group is really awesome. Other than that, the only thing that came to mind, if you hop on Instagram, there's a Asian female creator. She has a character called the Angry Little Asian Girl. And
yes, Lee.
Yes, yeah, I got to meet her a couple of times. I think she's based in Southern California. Met her at a couple of cons down there, and it's pretty humorous Instagram comics. She's got a couple books out, and she's got a ton of merchandise. Focused on with the little angry little Asian girl character, and it's with the mean mom and just playing on a lot of things that we can relate to as far as growing up as an Asian, done in a very, very humorous light. I really like her work. Definitely check her out. It's Angry Little Asian Girl.
Highly recommend.
All right, and I wanted to add in one. It's Chen. So actually, he is co-founder of TKO Presents, which is a comic book company that creates amazing comics from independent writers and creators. He's also the showrunner of the upcoming Gremlins on HBO Max. It's like the little animated Gremlins version. But okay, I see if Johnny can pull him up on Twitter. If not. Oh, that's not going to work, is it?
He's phenomenal.
He's amazing. He's really good at promoting other API creators. That's how I found a lot of them, because he was doing this thing where every day he was retweeting another creator and kind of promoting them. So he is incredible. A resource for finding other creatives, not only just in like screenwriting, but also comics and just basically the geek industry. So.
Nice. What was his name again?
Z Chen.
Z Chen. Okay.
Yeah, highly recommend. I've been honored to be spotlighted by him, and my follower count grew. He's amazing. There he is. Yes.
Yeah, no, he's
But
fantastic.
Good peoples. Definitely good peoples.
So I just had a quick question that I wanted to ask all of you guys. Are there ways in your future projects that you want to bring more of your culture and your heritage into your projects, or into things that you want to do in the future? I know, Patrick, you're already doing a lot, so I'm just going to go ahead and start.
Heavy.
Here.
All day. Filipino AF. All day.
What about you, Moana? Is there ways in the future that you're wanting to really integrate your culture into your work even more so?
Oh, absolutely. So, my children's book series, The Adventures of Nakoa Nohea, highlights many aspects of my culture. And I'm having a lot of fun with my illustrator. We're building up this world in a very kind of fun fantasy adventure. Ming brought up, Indiana Jones. There's a lot of that kind of flavor to it. Ryan's my illustrator, and he and I are huge Lord of the Rings fans too. So for us, there's a lot of Frodo, Sam, Samwise, Pippin, and Merry in this story. Really exploring the creatures and cultures, the myths and the legends. Like what is real, what is not real, who really knows what is real, and it's so much fun. We've been, working on this story for a while. I'm just really excited about where we could potentially take this. Some of our early readers have told us like, oh my God, we need to see this on Netflix or an animated series, so that's always good feedback to hear. Because we really just we're just having a lot of fun exploring and creating and envisioning the possibilities for what this could do for our community, our culture, and really capturing the legacies of things that, with storytelling, if we're not continuing to tell the stories, whether it's fiction stories or the stories of our ancestors and the people, our grandparents, all those people who came before us, then, then it's as if they never were here, right? So it's really important for us to continue that storytelling, and to make stories of our own and not forget that we have people like this that are alive right now that have great stories to tell. We don't have to wait until they have passed on. We can tell their stories now and help to share those perspectives and create those opportunities for connection at a very basic human level.
I would love to see your work on Netflix or somewhere where it's just
For sure.
widespread everywhere. That would be incredible and amazing. And now, Ming, I know that you were kind of like jack of all trades. You do all sorts of things. I know you're even promoting wrestlers now. So, what Asian wrestlers? What are we going to see?
I mean, yeah, there can always be more Asian wrestlers or or Asian wrestling managers for sure. I think anything I do, I would love to. I'm sort of actively just trying to promote the. I notice a lot of Asian kids. Me especially growing up, we were very introverted. Did not really, not really outspoken. Not really talking about what projects we were working on. I was very quiet. I don't, I think that may have a little bit of culture, in there where, maybe we're asked not to be, as outspoken, when we're young, but,
Totally.
yeah, I'm just trying to get more Asian, maybe more Asian kids to be like, hey, what are you working on? Tell everybody about it.
Right.
Post on social media. Hey, brag about it. You're doing great things. It was something I wish I would have done when I was younger. Maybe just express myself more, show people how much I loved, the X-Men or whatever, and get other people to love it as well. That's and maybe I'm just trying to do that by just being out there, just having fun. Showing Asian kids like, hey, you don't have to be in the background. Come to the forefront. Tell everybody what you're into. Don't be shy about it, for sure. Yeah. Also, I really love Asian food. I guess I think our culture is as diverse as, like a dim sum cart. There's so many varieties of Asian foods, that just trying to get people to be, you should be open to all of it. Try everything. Pick out the stuff that you really love. Maybe there's stuff that isn't for everybody. Like chicken feet, or or intestines. That's cool. It's very, it's an acquired taste for sure. But who knows? Try it. You might love it. So it's something I'm trying to express to everybody.
Yes. Can I put a request in next time we're all four at the same con, that we all go grab food together?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm down. So down.
Yeah.
I'm also down for Ming. Ming eats around Asia, and it's just like a program you just go around.
It's the only reason I go to conventions. Is like, all right, what's everybody eating around here? Let's go. Let's do it.
You're speaking to my inner foodie.
All right, now I want to ask: is there a comic or graphic novel by an AAPI creator that you would recommend, or a creator that you want to give a shout out to? Let's start with Moana.
So I'm gonna go off what Ming just said, and tell people what you're working on. So stop making yourself small. As I mentioned, I have a children's book series. We actually have our project is live on Kickstarter right now. So if you go to moanatheauthor.com, we have a children's and activity book, which is our official companion to our story, Shadows of the Ancient, and Fishing Day with Papa Ray. As you can see, the art is beautiful. It's a lot of great coloring pages that families can enjoy. It is an all ages book, so you can get the activity book. You can pick up our children's book series right now. And you can also, if like we're here on comics, right? We're all about the comics. You can also check out our comics, The Wildcard Chronicles. We have a reward tier for that. It's really a very unique, it's not your typical children's book series at all. The colors will slap you in your face, as you can see right there. And we're really excited to see, to give folks a chance to kind of play in our world and see what they create, whether it's their kids, the adults. I find it still very a great opportunity to distress with coloring. So, and just, explore your own creative expression in whatever way, you find it. So if we end tomorrow at 10 o'clock, so we're like in the last 24 hours. And as you can see, we're super close to our goal. So if you'd like to help us directly, we'd really appreciate it. And we thank PREVIEWSworld for allowing us to help share this today.
Yes, y'all are so close. So if you guys are watching, please go put in some money to their Kickstarter, get it funded. They are so close. The colors are gorgeous. I love it so much. What about you, Ming? Who can you recommend to people?
Definitely Moana. You can't see that, but I'm pledging $25 for the physical copy.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Ming.
For sure. I buy anything that Jim Lee touches for sure.
Yes.
I use him as an example for everybody. I was like, listen, not only is he an awesome Asian creator, bar none, my favorite artist out there and probably of all time. But I was using an example. I was like, listen, he was a nerd. He started drawing comics for a living, became an executive, an editor in chief, started his own huge company. And I'm like, listen, nerds are awesome too. Jim Lee's got a Lamborghini, and he's doing pretty well for himself. But not only that, he's a really great guy. He was gracious enough to come on an episode of Comic Book Men, and I've seen him at conventions. I've moderated a few of his panels. Couldn't find a nicer guy out there to be kind of an ambassador for Asian creators in comics for sure. It's cool running into these guys. I just ran into artist Gene Ha at a convention in LA this past week. He's working on covers for a newish comic book company out there called the Hoy Comics, and it's fun running into these guys. So for sure. And I pick up anything with Jay Lee artwork as well. So he's just his artwork is mind blowing for sure. So I try to support anybody just out there hustling, creating, putting in money, putting in the time, putting in the love, putting in the passion. I try when I can to meet them in person at conventions as well.
That's awesome. Exciting.
What about you, Patrick?
No worries. I second everybody that Ming stated, and definitely love my Moana over there. So again, thank you for this platform again, because now we can give it back to those amazing people that we know. So I wanted to show love to my Filipinos out there killing it. First up, I wanted to give love to Cuento Comics, which is an all Asian female led comic book company. Shout out to Caitlin Fay, Jennifer Zhang, and Cecilia Lim. Their first comic, Mask of Ahalia, dropped within this past year. Please pick that up. It's amazing. And Caitlin is the writer on that. And she's also part of my Filipinx Actors of Arcata squad. I love her so much. So please check out Cuento and support that all AAPI female team over there. Dewata Comics is another Phil Am company led by Mark Nazal, who's also a filmmaker as well, who also dabbles in the comics realm like myself. He has a book called Carmina Beginnings that you can check out that also recently dropped within this past year. Show them all the love. They're like on the Comic Con circuit all over. They're amazing. And of course, because I'm down with the Lumpia with a Vengeance family,
yes,
and we'll be writing their upcoming comic. For the Lumpia with a Vengeance film, they dropped a postlude, prelude, and interlude comic to the film, and then they had right after that the Gemini comic that continued on with the story from the Lumpia with a Vengeance films, and now the legendary Lumpia Squad will be coming up from me and Patricio Janelsa. We'll be writing that together, continuing on the adventures of the DFU, the Deep Fried Universe.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys, this has been such a fantastic conversation. I've loved every minute of this, and I feel like I could talk to you all for another hour or two easily. But we are kind of coming, towards the end. So I want to give an opportunity for everyone to talk about something that's coming up or where they're going to be in their social media. So let's start with Ming. Where can people find you next? What con are you going to next?
I'm actually currently in Atlanta, Georgia right now. I'm going to a convention called The Camp. It's kind of like half Walking Dead, half pop culture convention. I'll be nearby Peachtree City. I'll be at Washington State SummerCon next month. And I'm all over. If you can't come to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash in Red Bank, New Jersey, where we shot the show, then I am probably going to come to you. I'll probably be at San Diego Comic-Con, if you can find me in that madness. But I'm pretty much all over. So, come and find me. Social media is at Ming Chen 37, MINGCHEN 37. And follow my adventures in Comic-Cons and food for sure. And podcasting.
Yes.
All right, Patrick, where can everyone find you and all of the things that you do?
Awesome. Thank you again. You will see me at AwesomeCon. I will be at AwesomeCon, walking around with my little one, spending all of my money. You can follow me at the Legend Kuya P on Twitter, TikTok, and IG. My Show Pal Show, and that's Show Pal Show on everything as well. That's SHOPOWSHO, where I highlight Filipinx in all various fields of industry. About to hit episode 100. Actually, we already recorded episode 100. And just going to, again, continue to show the love and light to all my Filipinx out there. Also, my work with Nerds Rule the World, NRW, and the Nerds of Color, where we'll continue to, give love to everybody out there. I need to get Ming on there to have him on, and I will have an interview coming up soon with Mia.
Anytime.
Love it. And so look for that. And actually talk to Mia on her Dynamite work, because I love Mia. Check out that interview already out there. And just putting in work. The Meta Facebook VR release will be in a year or two. It's still very early on. We're in pre-pro on that. And then Lumpia with a Vengeance, I should be at San Diego Comic-Con if we get that book nailed in time. I'm busy, but I thank y'all and I love y'all.
Busy is good. Busy is good.
Very good.
Comic Cap says, thank you all for sending this up. Please do this again. And Moana, hit us again with all the info about your Kickstarter. Let's make sure we get everyone knowing what's going on so that way they can pledge and get you over there.
Yes. So the Kickstarter color with Nakoa and Nohea, you can find it at www.moana.author.com, and that'll take you over to our Kickstarter campaign. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Real Life Moana. and on the Moana Nui podcast on Thursdays at 7 and 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where we highlight BIPOC creators from all different walks of life. Thank you, Ming. You're the best. Oh my God, you just made my life. I really appreciate the support.
Of course.
Ryan and I, like, we're just honored to be able to, carry this torch for our community and to really bring the Pacific Islander perspective to pop culture and media. And we're really appreciative of our entire supporter community. Whether you've backed us, you bought something from us, you've shared something from us, you've given us like a word of encouragement along the way. Like, every little thing matters to us because it keeps us going. So thank you, everybody.
Can't hear you, Mia.
Unmute.
Still, she's
Unmute.
saying she loves us all, and we love her.
Yes, and we're saying pick up her books, Betty Page, Dynamite Comics.
Yes.
Pick up Betty Page.
Wow, there we go.
Poor Anna Mia, she's the
Yes.
best. She's lovely.
She is the best. Betty
I
Page.
just want to say thank you all for joining me. Thank you to all my guests. This has been amazing. I wish we had more time to talk. And I want to thank everyone in the audience for watching. This has been fantastic. We should get more of these on Previews World. Thank you, Previews World, for letting us have this great chat. And make sure, so you don't miss out on future talks, to like and subscribe to Previews World on all of their social media, as well as their YouTube and their Twitch. There you go. It's right there. So make sure you go over there and follow them so you don't miss another one of these great chats. Thank y'all for watching, and have a great rest of your week.